Welcome back. Now, a smile is your best accessory, they say, but what if from birth you were denied the pleasure of sharing that gesture with others because of a facial deformity? Well, 1 in every 700 babies born has a facial deformity known as cleft lip or cleft palate. It is a birth defect that occurs when a baby's lip or mouth does not form properly during pregnancy. Well, Lucia Moki, who is in studio tonight, narrates her journey so far on her say and tells us why she wants to be a voice for a neglected and underserved part of our society. Take a look.
For the longest time, I have felt that I'm not good enough. I have felt that I was not worth anything in life. So growing up, generally, having a cleft wasn't an issue as much. But when I got to the age of realization, that's when I looked at my mirror, at least like 14, 12 years, and I questioned why was I different than every other person, you know? At that point is when I realized something was definitely different with me. Well, generally, kids being kids, of course there was bullying. And people used to ask me, why do you look like that? Why does your mouth look like that? Why do you talk like that? And it had such a big impact to how I performed in school. I was an average student. I started having a defense mechanism. I started having anger issues because I tried to ward off the bullying through that. It's been very tough for me because I have felt like I have missed a lot of opportunities because of how I look like, because of my craniofacial defects, okay? I wanted to be a lawyer. It's unfortunate I didn't turn out to be one because I questioned who was going to give me an opportunity to represent them looking like this, you know? And so I said, why don't I try my hand in communication? But even in communication, I still had doubts in my head. I can say it's been a long, tiring, exhausting, and confusing journey. I can inspire someone using my story. At least a cleft or anybody with a craniofacial difference, at least they can hear me. They can hear my story. They can look at me and live beyond the bullying and live beyond the defects and the deformities. Because at the end of the day, we are normal people. Just like you and me, we are very normal people. We are smart, beautiful, and intelligent.
Well, you just got a sense of what life is like for someone living with a craniofacial abnormality. And tonight, in light of the Cleft and Craniofacial Awareness Month, we bring their stories to you. Let me introduce my guests very quickly. To my right is Lucia Moki, who is a journalist and technician. To my left is Dr. Meshach Onguti, who is a reconstructive and maxillofacial surgeon. I hope I said that correctly.
Very correctly.
Okay, good. And Boniface Otieno, who is a parent to a beautiful daughter who had a cleft lip but since has gotten surgery, and you'll be telling us about her experience. But Lucia, let me begin with you. You were very honest and very candid about the struggles you go through in terms of self-esteem, you know, that come with having a cleft lip. So you had it, of course, from birth. You got the surgery when you were about, what, 5 months? 5
months, 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was life like growing up? Because you never saw yourself before then. How was life after that, after the surgery?
Honestly, I cannot remember so much. But I can tell you that growing up, 0 to 12 years, it was a normal life. Because basically, I did not know the impact that what a cleft lip has on me. But since I got to the age of now self-awareness, that's when I looked at myself in the mirror and now knew that I was different than any other kids. I had never seen anybody else apart from my biological brother that had a cleft lip. And what's interesting is your parents didn't really explain anything to you. Yeah, before I say anything, they are my support system. Absolutely. They've supported me 110%. They're my cheerleaders. Yeah. But I think we did not see the reason of talking about it. I mean, it is something that is present, it is something that has been seen. It did not deter me. They did not know that I had challenges, okay? But it was not something that I thought was worth talking about.
So the surgery and the treatment goes beyond really kind of closing the gap. There's a lot more that you have to do. So what kind of procedures did you have to undergo?
Personally, I had to do the corrective surgery after birth.
Okay.
After that, I haven't done any surgeries, but I still have to do reconstructive surgeries because I had a cleft lip and a cleft palate.
Okay.
Now the palate is the roof of the mouth. And when I was done the surgery, because I was young, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
So things have changed. So I need to do the reconstructive surgery at least to seal the roof of, because it's still, there's still the divide.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm also doing my dental procedures to align my teeth and also to do the jaw alignment.
So that's the reality of the treatment, Dr. Meshach, is it's ongoing. It's not just a one-off. But I guess to have our viewers really understand what cleft lip or cleft palate are there different kinds, different stages?
Thank you very much. The reason why we focus so much on facial deformities, which you nicely put as craniofacial anomalies that occur on people when they are born with it, is because of the effect they have got on life.
Yeah.
And simply put, it means that something on the face or the head has not grown normal.
And that was during the pregnancy?
Yeah, during the pregnancy. It has to happen because the child must be born at birth. That's why it's known as congenital, because it's born with it at birth. It's not acquired later on, like in accidents or something happens to it. But in this aspect here is when the child has not been born, and there are many because we'll talk later on, is the face itself has various parts. The face, there are the lips, there are the nostrils, there is the jaws, there are the eyes that are there, there are the ears that are there, and there's the head also in various places. Anything during development of the child in the womb can occur and it can affect. Yeah. And that part the face develops, is one that develops in the first 6 weeks when you conceive one. Okay. And you see, and that's a time when you'll find that many people are not aware that they're even pregnant. Yes. And by the time they realize, certain influences might have occurred to cause that particular aspect. Okay. But what happens is that the lip fails to unite. Okay. And it can be from something like a notch on the lip to something where the lip is completely open, that you can be able to see through to the nostrils. And then the other thing is that you find that the lip, it can be on one side or on two sides. Okay. So that we call it unilateral or bilateral. Okay. And then the palate, which is the roof of the mouth, the same thing happens, because the beauty is that the face grows from the sides and it joins up in the middle. Okay. So that there's a balance. That's why you don't see a discrepancy. It's symmetrical. It's symmetrical on both sides. So on this aspect, that the palate also fails to unite. And it can fail to unite either the anterior part, so the way you look at the nostril, or it can fail to unite from the anterior part all the way back to the throat. Wow. So that in that case, it involves a soft palate. Okay. Now, the face being a place where it performs so many functions, because that's where, as you said very clearly on your introduction, it's the entry to the world. It is, the recognition. So when that deformity is there, it becomes very obvious immediately at birth, because even the people will say, look, there's something strange here. It's an abnormal child that has been born. So as a result of that, you will find that these children, when they have this deformity, because they affect the jaws, they affect the teeth, they will affect the nostrils, they will affect the eyes and ears. So it's a multi thing, which means that even when the treatment that is offered is staged to take care of certain things that occur in those particular areas that occur. Right. So as a result of that, you find that, for example, for normal surgeries, they can be done at the age of, let's say, in most areas, in advanced areas where there's high technology, it can be done even up to day one of birth. So a few days after birth, the surgery can be done? It can be done, particularly the lip. Okay. And, but because of safety and everything else, And where you don't have enough expertise and don't have good equipment, we have a rule that says, look, at 3 months you can do that surgery on.
Okay. And
then for the palates, you do them at about 6 months, 9 months before that occurs.
Okay, let me bring Boniface in, because your daughter was born 9 months ago.
Yes.
A beautiful blessing to you and your wife, I'm sure.
Definitely.
So when she was born, of course, you noticed something is a bit different.
Yes.
What was your initial reaction?
Thank you very much for hosting me tonight. When I went to the hospital and my wife had put to bed, of course it's a thing of joy. And when I got there, she had this face. She had worn this face that gave me the impression that something had definitely went wrong. So when I moved close to the baby, I realized that they had she had a gap on her upper lip.
Right.
So I tried to comfort her, and I told her that this is just a normal thing. It will, with proper treatment, we can do something about it.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, you're extremely understanding, because in most of these cases you find the husbands or the fathers would leave because they're wondering, look, this cannot be my child.
Yes.
You actually stayed and stuck through. Why did you decide, and of course this being your blood and your child, very commendable.
To be honest, I didn't even know what this was.
Wow. I
just decided to be strong for my wife, and my family was also there for me. They came and saw the baby, and everybody was just there for me.
So you didn't go through any, I mean, did you have maybe people around you, friends, who, if they happened to see the baby before she went through the surgery, asking questions, for instance?
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, because if you took the baby maybe at home and there are people who wanted to come and see the baby, that's where the challenge came, because somehow we hid the baby. Because we didn't know what people would say.
Right.
Yes, and you know, mostly Kenyans, they take these things very badly. And so maybe people think that this is a curse or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you kind of go through your own emotional trauma as you're trying to also process what this is and what's happening?
Yes. I immediately comforted my wife, but deep down in me, I was feeling very bad. I was wondering what is happening. This is not in my lineage. How do I take this child out to the society? So there was a lot of questions in my head.
So now when you're thinking about the treatment options, once you're told this is what's happening, this is what she has. So she had a cleft lip?
Yes.
Cleft palate as well, or just the lip?
No, the lip was worse.
Okay.
Yeah, but the palate was a bit okay.
Okay, okay. So what kind of treatment did she have to go through?
Daktari knows.
Because you actually performed
I just met him today.
Oh, and you found out that he actually performed.
I just found out that he was the one who was in charge. Yeah.
I think it's so nice that sometimes patients don't know that you're the one who have done the surgery, because it then gives them the opportunity. And I was very happy when he said, look, you know, the surgery was done so well that is not. I think the purpose that you see for cleft lips. You see, if you are able to help the parents do the surgeries as early as possible, so that they are able to release that child to the outside world, so that people can be able to see it. Because remember, our customer that someone has delivered, there's a tendency that people want to go and see the child. They just want to go and even baby shower, whatever suppose they call the name, they call it up. But in a situation of this nature, for him, at least he knew that he could be able to get surgery earlier than other people's, because some people sometimes it takes a long time before they realize what should be done. And for the lips, as I've said, if the child is good, there's no any other medical complications, we can do the surgery as early as possible. I've done between this kind of done about 3 days old children.
And you know, and you've said this before, Lucia, that it's not just about the cosmetic fix. You know, someone could get the surgery done, but it doesn't do anything in terms of healing the inner pain and hurt that comes with, you know, in terms of people asking questions, bullying that you went through when you were in high school. How and have you overcome a lot of that in terms of the self-esteem issues?
Victoria, stigma comes in various forms, okay? And every day as we navigate through life, you get utterances that are, when you look back and you ask yourself, really, what did this mean? You feel like people have not been informed, like well informed, okay? I am learning how to overcome these challenges. And like you said, I can have as many corrective surgeries, but if I do not deal with my psychological challenges, you know, psychological challenges bring about things like self-doubt.
Yeah.
They bring a degree of paranoia, in the sense that when somebody is talking, like when you're talking to me and maybe you're just staring at me, in my mind I'm asking, what is this person looking at? Are they looking at how I look like, you know? And that has a degree of your esteem goes from 100 to 0, because already in your mind you have this challenge,
right?
Like, don't I look good enough? Am I not speaking something that is worth listening to? Okay.
Yeah, and you raised something really important, because someone would look at you and judge, and you even mentioned it earlier in your clip, that you felt, who would allow me to represent them, for instance, if I wanted to be a lawyer? But this physical abnormality has nothing to do with your mental capacity, and I think we need to kind of make that very clear.
Yes, yes.
Very, very clear.
Yes.
That it's not a mental disorder, if you will.
Actually, if I could add on that.
Yeah.
See, what sometimes happens that when I think we lay so much emphasis on the outward appearance of a person.
Yeah.
And right from the word go, you can see that when the child has been born, the tendency is that people begin saying, look, and this I've seen it very often, they'll actually, in the rural areas, particularly that village, the men will say, look, this lady has brought in all bad omen, it's witches or something of that nature. So the stigma starts from that particular moment. In fact, I've seen even where mothers have abandoned their children in the hospital and go away because of the tormenting situation that they go in. So from the word go, despite the fact that the child doesn't know what's happening, but the parents begin having that tormenting situations. And then as they grow up, they go to school, you know, because of their deformity, they will go to school late. So the other children who are there, and I think it's something that we have never come to appreciate, they are never told that, look, this is not an abnormality that is contagious, that is bad. They actually begin calling the students who have got that deformity names. So they again now make it more difficult, and to the extent that even when they're in school or they're doing anything that is public, they make it a problem.
Right.
So in this aspect, so by the time they even go to do their studies, by the time they go to the places on, they are looked upon that there's something strange, there's something that doesn't have mentally on this particular aspect. So as a result of that, it is extremely important to look, these people are as intelligent as anybody else. In fact, I always say that, look, properly treated, they can be the presidents of this country, they can be the ministers of this country, they can be here sitting and ensuring that they're the ones who are interviewing on this particular aspects, and they need to have that comfort.
And speaking of which, you know, Lucia, I've told you this before, you're extremely beautiful. And you always wanted to be a TV presenter, and you keep saying, there's no one on screen who looks like me. You know, and you really want to kind of change perceptions of beauty standards and whatnot. And so how did you want to also kind of change people's perceptions on that?
Image is what is used to determine a lot of things according to how the society has portrayed it. Like, I will look at you and tell this person is intelligent just because you do not have a facial defect. Okay, that is how the society has programmed us to think. How do I want to change it? Look at me. I have pushed hard. You know, I pushed hard to be able to make sure that I stand within the job market as a skilled professional. Okay, so I want to encourage other people living with cleft and other craniofacial defects to take their places in the society. I am gainfully employed. It has not deterred me from anything, has it? No. Right. That is a perception that I'm learning to absorb in me, and that I would want other people to also learn to absorb with it.
And Boniface, I need to find out, you know, after your daughter has gone through the surgery, you're not completely in the clear. You know, there's many challenges that come with, even when it comes to something like feeding, for instance.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges that you are encountering now?
Immediately after the surgery, they gave us some painkillers, and they gave us some ointments to put on it. But it was very difficult to feed her. People still came in and asked her what really happened, and I remember my wife lying to some of them that she just fell down.
Oh my!
Yeah, especially the mother. Yeah. She just fell down. Yeah.
Oh, so in terms of feeding, what are some of the challenges that you have in making sure that she gets her nutrients and whatnot?
Now, what really happened is that she couldn't breastfeed. So we were just advised to take some food products and smash it and just give it to her.
Okay.
Yes.
And she's able to at least eat well and digest well and everything. With Dr. Meshak's work, you have to ensure that that is all happening. But I'm curious because you'll be raising a young girl, a little girl.
Yes.
And she'll become a teenager eventually. And I can see Lucia is nodding her head because she knows.
Yes.
She'll get into that point where people start asking questions. How are you going to raise a child who knows that she is not her condition and can look beyond that and is able to boldly answer questions of people who ask, who'd be very mean also at times? Yeah,
I just plan to bring her up in a way that she can appreciate everybody. Just tell her that this is not a disability. Yeah, it's just a condition that is actually reversible. I just bring her up in that manner. Yes.
And Dr. Meshak, I'm curious. I mean, do we know of any causes of this condition? Because parents are watching, mothers are watching, mothers to be wondering, is there anything that I could do that would lead to this?
Yes, I mean, for anything that happens, there must be a cause.
Yeah.
The only thing that the craniofacial anomalies, as we have talked about, the cleft and palate, there's not one cause. There are multiple causes which tend to play a role in causing defects of this nature. One of these, and you remember when Lucia was talking about, say that look, her brother there was a brother also who had a cleft. So there is what we call the genetic, whereby you can inherit it from, if in the family that condition was there, they say the mother, where the mother came from or the father came from, if they had that and they have children, then you know that in future we have to warn them that look, the chances that you might have a cleft patient of the nature. But the most important one that we are talking about, that really play a major role are what we call environmental factors.
Okay.
And I'll say from the one that have been proven to at least play a role in that. Smoking.
Okay.
And you see, it's actually quite bad sometimes that you find that when we know that smoking has quite an effect, people would think that smoking is only causes defects in terms of cancer or those kind of things. But actually, 30% of the clefts through the WHO, that found out that look, mothers who do smoke, and particularly remember, in the first few weeks of pregnancy, even when people are smoking around a pregnant mother. And these are the kind of things that we see. So
even secondhand smoke can also affect?
Particularly in restaurants. In fact, one of the things that should be banned completely, because mothers go to eat in the restaurants, but they allow people to smoke around, and the smoke is affecting them. And you see, and in fact, you even find some of the waiters there are pregnant, and they're serving on this particular thing. So people don't hear that smoking is a very bad thing. And it's even more complicated if drinking also.
Okay.
Because alcohol, and the kids even, for example, that when the mothers drink so much, it does affect the children. Because what happens, the blood supply, the oxygen in that early stage doesn't flow properly, and cells don't move and unite in places.
Right.
The other thing that comes in play is, and if you look at when someone is pregnant the first one month, the first 1 week, you don't know. So the mothers will feel that they feel nausea, they feel nauseated, they do everything. Then they say go to the chemist or somewhere else and they buy drugs and they take that. Those can be toxic, for example. Particularly also, normally we tell, oh, you have come several times complaining, so we say this may be psychiatrist to give you some psychiatric drugs to take, and those can actually cause an effect. The other one is nutritional, where you find that we have certain nutritional elements like vitamins and folic acid, zinc, where the mothers might not be able to have these particular ingredients in that early stage.
So deficiency of folic acid?
Yeah, folic acid, vitamin A, vitamin B6, for example, all those things that play on that particular aspect. And this is from the public point of view, public health point of view. Yes. It can actually, if we knew that, look, this is the case, then we can even advise. There's nothing wrong to advise mothers before even they become pregnant, 6 months down the road or 3 months, they begin taking these medications and continue with it. Now, I never used to know why in Europe, for example, they would fortify cereals and gives you those because they are very rich in that folic acid on those particular products that are supposed to be in the place. So, and the other one that we find is in insecticides. A lot of these things, which are affecting the environment is quite a problem. Right. There's also there's a lot of smoking from cars, and you see in traffic when you're moving on. And you don't realize how much smoke those vehicles are smoking on you, and they're taking on them. It doesn't affect someone like me or you when you're not pregnant. Right. But if you're pregnant, it's actually, you can hear it stops even the breathing. You don't even take it properly. Whatever happens now. So these are some of the things that actually do cause or contribute. But there are other cases that we don't even know, depending on what happened. Because I remember when I told you that, look, these defects that occur, they don't occur singly. If you have water cleft here, chances are that you could also have a heart problem. Wow. This is what you don't realize. Right. Chances are that, for example, you might miss an ear. Wow. Chances are that you might be able to have a nose that doesn't function on. Chances are that your fingers will be fused together and the toes. So all these things, it's a combination of things that occurs in this particular aspect. Now, they used to talk about age. Age is significant, particularly when you find that in young children who get pregnant, because they do not realize that they are pregnant, so they don't even eat properly. They actually, and you remember, there are times when people didn't want to know they are pregnant, they would actually put very tight things and even put those things in, and I'm sure you might have seen some faces deformed, and
So would you see some of these common cases in maybe teen mothers? You see a lot of these cases.
Very severe ones.
Wow.
Very severe ones, yes. Very severe ones.
That is really interesting. And Lucia, I wanted to ask you now, in terms of, you have a daughter now, and of course, I'm sure you probably have plans to grow your family and settle down. What does that look like for you?
Victoria, a fellow Cleft will tell you that it's hard having to navigate through relationships, be it career-wise, be it family, be it through your daily chores in the society. This is because some of the fears that we have as people living with cleft lip and palate, you were afraid that probably you're going to have a baby who is going to have a cleft lip and palate.
Right, if it's a genetic.
Exactly, if it is genetic. And scientifically it has not been proven yet whether it's genetic or it has been caused by environmental factors. Right. Okay. Like I have a daughter, my firstborn, and she's perfect. To me, she's perfect. Yeah. But I'm afraid of getting another child. What if she turns out a cleft like me? Not because I'm not proud of being a cleft. I'm a proud cleft. I'm very proud because God marks his special ones, okay? But what I have gone through as a person living with cleft, I would not want to pass that to my daughter. I am trying to adjust to the possibility that I could not. Technology has advanced. Right. She's going to get, or he's going to get better than I got. And my parents made the best decisions for me. It's something that is bleak to me. Honestly, it's something that I dread thinking about.
And you've come up with what you've called Cleft Click Kenya.
Yes.
What is that, and what do you seek to do through this initiative?
First of all, I started Cleft Click Kenya when I was doing my dental procedure. I felt overwhelmed. I did not feel like anybody understood what I was going through. I mean, 3 decades later, and I did not know how to smile. You know, like I would smile, or I would laugh, or I would even have at times some painful toothaches, okay, where the palate really divides itself. And I went online and I looked for communities that at least I could have somebody, a support system, okay, somebody who's going through what I'm going through. But I did not find that. I found initiatives that have been formed for children who are meant to have corrective surgery, but not adults or even pre-teenagers and teenagers, okay? So I started this initiative so that I could provide a safe space For parents with children suffering, having the condition of cleft lip and palate, for us, people with it, our friends and relatives, at least to support each other.
Right.
Okay. But the most important of all was to create and inform and educate people on what actually a cleft lip and a palate or any craniofacial differences are. Like you've heard what Boniface has said. He did not understand what really this is. If I go outside there and ask someone, do you know what cancer is? They know, they have a brief idea. But if I ask someone, hey, have you ever seen somebody with a cleft lip or palate, or what do you think about it? They're not able to tell you that. So first of all, let us first educate people on what actually this condition is.
Right.
Okay. After that, let us see if we can push for changing policies. If you have to do this in a private hospital, it costs a lot of money. Okay. Even at a government hospital, it still costs a lot of money. And what happens if I have a child with a cleft lip or palate? I will have to wait for outreach programs. I will go there, but if I go there and they're already done, will I have to wait for the next outreach program?
And that's the case a lot in this country, right?
Yes, for that child to be treated. No. Is it possible for the government at least to say, you know what, these corrective surgeries are going to be free?
Yeah.
Insurance companies don't cover this.
Why is that?
They don't. They don't. They say it's a congenital birth defect that is not covered. But Victoria, are you going to condemn a young innocent child that has been born because you do not see the need of this child to be done on corrective surgeries?
And of course, it causes complications that impact their health. So
it does. Like if I eat. Eating for me is an issue. Right. Breathing well for me is an issue.
To this day?
To this date. Because when I was done the corrective surgery, technology was not advanced as now. Okay? Dr. Meshach will have to do a reconstructive surgery for me if I do not have the funds to do that.
Right.
What is going to happen to me? It affects my daily activities. Okay? But above all, is it possible for us as Clefties Click, we want to push. Is it possible for us to have a center here? At least a center that caters for all this, because you're going to be, it's not a one-day treatment. You're going to have corrective surgery when you're young, okay? Secondly, if it's not been done so well, maybe because of other complications, you'll need reconstructive surgery. After that, you'll need jaw alignment. Your nutrition has to be watched. Your psychological challenges have to be dealt with, okay? Is it possible if the government can come in, or even goodwill ambassadors, and fund a center that we can have this? We have able doctors. We do not need to have to wait for doctors to come in and perform these surgeries for us.
Some very key points that Lucia is raising, Dr. Meshach, and I mean, it's unfortunate. So most insurance companies would see it as a cosmetic procedure?
You know, thank you. I mean, I have had cases, for example, that where mothers, parents who have been insured, when they're given a part of that child, they actually, the insurance, they say that, look, this is congenital, we cannot cover it up. And as just put it very right, in fact, I have mentioned this before, that it's actually a criminal offense to condemn a child who has been born. That means people who are supposed to help these children so that they can actually have a life, immediately they show the parents that, look, they are not significant, because they can't be able to offer those services on. But I think what should be done is that, look, this is a disability, and disability that can be managed, and in fact, if it is properly taken care of, then the economic gains future are very high. In fact, because these people will be able to do no more work on. And that's a policy, and in fact, what we'll say that, look, and it's especially that we must ensure that these people get a skilled manpower, because see, in the past, surgeries of the cleft lips used to go for years and years, and it cost a lot of money, from anywhere between 5 million to 10 million, for example. But as now technology has said, look, what should be done, that, look, if we have a situation like the centers where we can be able to do these cases on a daily basis, and we are managing to do that occasionally. And I do not want to say that, look, just when you go to private, you get a better service than when you are in a private, in another government institution. I want that these children have the same care in both the private and the government institutions, because we don't have two people. We are talking of the same condition.
Absolutely.
That must be taken care of.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that, look, we now must be able to make sure that, look, we do the proper work.
Yeah.
So that we make a change and reduce the number of surgeries that are supposed to be done.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let me get from you, Boniface, as we wrap up, just advice or encouragement you'd give to another parent going through the same, you know, their beautiful son or daughter was born and they find they have a cleft lip or cleft palate and they're wondering, where do I go from here?
Yes.
What do you tell them?
First of all, I want them to embrace their children. They're just normal children, just like any other kid out there. This is a disability. Dr. has already told us that this is something that can be done well. It can be successful. So I advise all parents that if they find themselves in this kind of situation, they should just embrace their kids and always be proud of them. Yeah.
And Dr. because I know people are asking, okay, great. You know, you just mentioned insurance can be an issue. I don't have the money out of pocket to pay for this, but my child is suffering. Where can they get help? And of course, this being the Awareness Month.
Yeah, let me just specify, Kerry, what we are doing, most of the surgeries for cleft lip, most of the country have been done free of charge. Mm-hmm. That means we don't charge those patients. We sacrifice all the things that are supposed to be there, and we ask the institutions, those hospitals also to waive off whatever fee is supposed to be the place. Now, we next week from the 10th and 11th, we are actually having anybody who has these similar problems. We're giving them an opportunity so they can screen them, even those like Lucia, to come in so they can be able to tell them, look, how we can be able to improve what was done many years ago.
Okay.
And those who have young children, you can also tell them how to can feed these children, because one of the problems is how to feed the children.
Yes,
nutrition is a major thing. How even to be able to make the child lie down, because they have a lot of infection that takes in place. So they can come in and they can call this number 0719 555 665, so that we can be for 2 weeks. And once we see that, we'll then be able to arrange for them to see how we'll give them, make sure that they get the treatment that they need. They should not be worried at all. We should not be able to see any child or any person, an adult, suffering without, because you see, we want to change their lives so that they can live a life like anybody else.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And Lucia, I give you the final word as we close.
Having a cleft lip or a cleft palate does not deter us from doing anything in our lives as people living in this condition. So what I would like to say is encourage somebody out there that even if you feel that you're less of a person because of how you look, and even if you feel like you've not been given the chances that you deserve because of how you feel, push harder, believe in yourself, because some of us lost chances and possibilities. I would not want to see that on a fellow cleft. And what my mother always says, God marks the special ones. We are special.
I like that. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Lucia, Dr. Meshach, and Boniface, for your time, coming in and sharing and being candid, and hopefully giving someone hope that it will get better. And it will, of course, they will get the support that they need, not just from their family, friends, but society as well, because now when you raise awareness, people understand and they're a bit more compassionate to someone who they are not sure of in terms of their condition. But thank you so much. Thank you for watching. That does it for Citizen Weekend. Have a lovely evening. Let's do this again next week, but I'll see you again tomorrow on Sunday Live. Good night.